Hello, welcome to my channel. In this episode, I will be reviewing an African violet called Pinki. This is a vintage African violet variety. It was hybridized by Volkmann. Volkmann brothers Walter and Henry operated 3 commercial-sized greenhouses in Dallas, Texas since the 1950s, known as Volkmann Brothers greenhouses. They are known for having authored some famous hybrids, including Pinki, Volkmann's Merry Christmas, Beethoven, Geneva Wonder, and others. And these hybrids have since become vintage varieties because the African violet hybrids that were created 25 years ago or prior to that are considered vintage. Volkmann brothers are also known for Volkmann Reservoir wig pots, Volkmann African violet soil, fertilizer, and other products related to African violets care. I did some research on the year when Pinki was released, but was unable, unfortunately, to find any information on it other than description of this variety in the Texas hybrids list. If you know any information about the history of this hybrid, please do post in the comment section. I truly appreciate it. I received this plant as a freebie in my last order of 2019 from Violet Barn about 4 months ago in September. It came together with Jolly Jubilee and Pearl Joy, nicely packed and in perfect shape as always, and here is what it looked like on the day when it arrived. Pinki is a semi-miniature variety with plain, round foliage. They almost look like girl leaves, except they don't have ruffles like the girl foliage does. So these are just plain round leaves, and this is how the foliage is described for this variety in on the Texas hybrids list. Semi-miniature African violets grow usually from 6 to 8 inches in diameter across a single crown. They usually do best in 2.5-inch pots. Currently, this plant is growing in a 2-inch pot, and at this point the rosette has grown up to about 3.5 inches in diameter. Because it grows in such a small size pot at this point, I gotta use some creativity so that it fits into the smallest mason jars that I use for wicking, and all of my plants are on wicks. So I got a double container action going on in here because the 2-inch pot would fall through to the bottom of this mason jar. So as a result, I picked the wider container plastic cup. It's a condiment plastic cup from a dollar store, and then I made some holes with soldering iron and put the wick through the holes. And this way it doesn't fall through, but rather stays on top of the mason jar. The flowers are described as semidouble pink stars with darkest center. They look like miniature roses. I really like this variety's flowers, and they sparkle quite a bit. So they are very, very pretty, create a very pretty sight. I also like the tall bloom stalks that this variety has, which allows the blooms to stay tall above the rosette, and this is a very desirable feature for all hybrids that I currently have in my collection. I like the little bouquet look on top of the rosette. They reach about 1/2 inch to 1 inch in diameter, and here they are in comparison to a dime coin. Probably 3/4 of an inch if I had to guess, and we can measure them here. Maybe 3/4 of an inch, yeah. So, but they, as I said, they look super cute as miniature roses, and they sparkle, and they have a darker center. So, and the petals are curved in a way that they create very, very beautiful lines within each blossom. Very pretty. This variety grows under a combination of LED and natural light on my west-facing window, and I've described this growing setup quite a bit in my previous videos. If you'd like to see some more details about that, I keep it on a wick, as I said, just like all of my other varieties, and I use this fertilizer. It's called Grow at 795 nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium ratio, and I use 1/8 teaspoon per gallon of water in the cooler growing conditions here now in the winter time, and also in the hot summer months. But otherwise, I use a full dose of 1/4 teaspoon per gallon of the same fertilizer. So I try to be very moderate and sparing with the fertilizer right now, because earlier I used to over-fertilize plants when I just started growing African violets, and that resulted in some losses in my collection. So I have to be very careful about what fertilizer to use, and I will make a separate video just about my fertilizing experiences with African violets. So stay tuned for that. It should be coming out in February of 2020. So in the meantime, here it is again, Pinki by Volkmann. If you like African violet miniatures and if you like vintage varieties, this is definitely a keeper, and I highly recommend this plant for your collection. I certainly feel very fortunate for having received it as a freebie from Violet Barn, so huge thanks to them for giving me this plant. I will always keep it in my collection. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you like this video and would like to stay tuned for future videos, please subscribe to my channel and give it a thumbs up, and I will see you again on the next episode of my African Violet reviews.